What if the first rulers of China were grandmothers? Fresh DNA data published 2 days ago says exactly that. Scientists pulled genetic code from 60 skeletons at a coastal village called Fujia. The bones are 4,500 years old. Every grave in the north holds people from one mother line. Every grave in the south holds people from a rival mother line. Fathers move between them like visiting uncles. Mothers own the land. So today's story starts with a quiet farm on the Bohai Sea around 2750 BCE. Picture dawn, millet stalks wave in salty air. Clay ovens hiss as women bake flatbread for the clan. Children learn which fish run with each tide. A traveling potter rolls in, asks a senior woman where he can pitch his kiln. She nods once. Permission granted. That nod is law because inheritance here flows through her blood, not her husband's. How do we know? The genomes shout it. Mitochondrial DNA, passed only from mothers, splits the two cemeteries like a wall. One side carries haplogroup M8A3, the other side carries D5B1B. No mixing for 10 straight generations. That is stricter than many royal houses. Meanwhile, the Y chromosome, the piece dads hand to sons, is all over the map. Fathers came from outside, married in, and vanished from the family tree the moment they died. Archaeologists have dug Fujia since 1985, but only dusted pots and counted pig bones. The social code hid inside the bones themselves, waiting for next-gen sequencers that can read DNA shards 30 bases long. The team ground powder from skulls in a freezer set to -100, filtered out modern contamination, and rebuilt entire genomes like a shattered vase. When the maternal pattern appeared on the lab monitor, one researcher thought the software had glitched. It had not. Let's step into a funeral 4 millennia ago. Clan North loses its oldest woman. She carried the M8 a line, so her sons walk her body to the northern cemetery. One son married a woman from Clan South. He begs the priest to bury his mother next to his wife's people. Denied. Rules are rules. Blood stays pure. That single decision keeps the maternal boundary bright for another generation. Why would a society build power on mothers? Look at the economy. Fuja sat on a ridge above tidal flats. Women planted and harvested millet, controlled stored grain, wove saltweed mats, and traded shell ornaments. Men fished, made salt, hunted deer, and courted brides from the next village. Food security depended on the fields, not the hunt, so land stayed in female hands. Lose the mother, lose the farm. Anthropologists call this matrilineal. It still runs parts of Indonesia, Ghana, and the Mozo Lakes of southwest China. But the Fujia find slams that system deep into prehistory, before bronze, before writing, before legend. Remember our episode on Chaco Canyon? DNA there showed an elite maternal dynasty in the American Southwest 1,000 years ago. Fujia proves that pattern was not isolated. Different continent, 3,000 years earlier, same rule. Follow the mothers. Zoom out further. Genetic hints of matrilineal elites pop up among Iron Age Celts in Germany, Neolithic farmers in Britain, even Viking colonists in Iceland. Put all that on a timeline and patriarchy looks less like the starting default and more like one option humanity toggled on when livestock, plows, and private steel changed the game. But Fujia adds something no other site gives us: scale. This was not a tiny royal household. Archaeologists have mapped more than 500 graves, 2 pottery kiln complexes, and a residential grid that covers 37 hectares. Imagine a Stone Age town the size of 50 soccer fields run by 2 extended families of women. Now, a detail that might keep you up tonight. Those 2 maternal lines are still around. Haplogroup M8A3 is common in coastal East Asia. The other D5B1B hides today in Siberian fishing villages. One clan stayed local, one rode trade winds from the far north, then planted itself for 2 centuries of quiet power before fading out of history. Every time someone from the Amur River region mails a cheek swab to a genealogy site, a shard of Fujia's story lights up again. Let's talk tech. Ancient DNA hates humidity. Fujia's dirt is moist and salty, ideal for rice, terrible for nucleic acids. The team cracked that by milling bones at liquid nitrogen temperatures, then trapping fragments on silicon beads etched with nanometer-wide grooves. They captured about 1% of the genome per individual and filled gaps with statistical imputation. 10 years ago, that would have been science fiction. This week it rewrote Chinese prehistory. What about conflict? One skull shows trepanation, a neat circular hole healed smooth. Surgery, not combat. Other bones carry no mass battle trauma. That suggests disputes settled by marriage diplomacy, not axes. Now the elephant in the hut. When did patriarchy override this system? Bronze smelting in the Central Plains starts around 2000 BCE. Bronze weapons reward male coalitions. Around that time, burial wealth in Shandong shifts toward male graves. The switch might track the moment herders turned military, millet fields shrank, and women lost economic leverage. Fujia gives us the control sample. What society looked like moments before that tipping point. Here is a twist you did not see coming. The Southern Cemetery holds two people with the Northern clan's maternal DNA, but their sequences differ by 6 mutations. Sisters? No. Cousins? No. They are distant kin, adopted or enslaved, buried as symbolic bridges. Archaeologists found tiny jade beads beside them, maybe gifts marking alliance talks. Even rigid rules have loopholes when politics demand. We can also run the clock forward. Rising seas after the Ice Age lifted the Bohai coastline by more than 100 meters. Fujia survived on a ridge, but dozens of sister villages probably drowned. Underwater archaeology teams already scan the bay for kiln mounds and burial rows. If those scans light up, expect new mother lines and maybe proof that matrilineal once ringed the entire Yellow Sea. Why should any of this matter to someone streaming on a phone? Because it unhooks that quiet assumption we carry. Men invented hierarchy, women followed. Fujia shows a different blueprint, one where authority springs from wombs, not war rooms, and society hums for centuries. Imagine school textbooks a decade from now. Page 1, Paleolithic hunters. Page 2, Neolithic matriarchs. Page 3, Bronze kings. History's straight line just became a zigzag. Last question for you. If grandmothers once ran towns, courts, trade, and land, what other lost social softwares sit buried under our feet? Next epoch, next shovel, next genome. Odds are they will surprise us again. Hit the next video if you are ready for the next surprise.